April 28, 2014. Paul Hill, Julius Shilanda. Below council members, Clay, Mayor Labrador, staff, thank you for coming. All senators that are coming today, staff, their due diligence to get things organized. Special session was called last week by Senator Conrad Stewart, the Minister Chair. They had the recommendation on the water code. At that time, proceed with roll call first. Language. Start.
Leo Reno here.
Reno here.
Won't be much of us here.
Row on, contracts.
Good luck, thank you. Here.
Robert Ivy.
Both garage position, 13 present. As I stated earlier, this special session was called by the Infrastructure Chair, Conrad Stewart, with a committee recommendation in regards to the Pro Child Water Code. This bill was introduced in October of 2013 by Darren Kyle. It was read into record by Jay Harris. Motion to adopt by Bryce House, second by Manuel Corza. And at this time, we need a motion to bring out of committee. Motion by Conrad Stewart, second by Eric Bergenground. All in favor, raise your right hands. All opposed? All abstained? Twelve for, 0, no, 2 abstain. Motion carries. So now at this time, it's proceed with the 30-minute presentation. Floor recognizes Conrad Stewart.
Mr. Speaker, Secretary, members of the body, and guests, at this time, I just want to recap that was just read into the record. This old version.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was read into record by Jay Harris. Motion to adopt by Bryce House. Second by Randall Cosar.
Mr. Speaker, Secretary, members of the body, and yes, executive legal. Just wanted to commend everybody for being here for this very important day. It would have been awesome to have everybody during our committee meetings as well. We went over several days of committee meetings, and periodically, this last week, we did every day, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then of course we had a funeral on Thursday, and a branch-to-branch meeting on Friday. So we made a lot of headway on the water code. Everyone that has ever come in here and spoke to the issue of the water code, and I can see a lot of them here today. I commend you for your involvement, because a lot of what you had brought out at that time is in here today. And so, moving forward with this, we went through a lot of the issues pertaining to some of the areas that we feel that the tribe should be in a position of control at all times, that a lot of it's referred to in the rulemaking authority, where the department and the legislative branch will be promulgating these rules and regs that will operate this document. What you see today before you in this document is going to be something that's going to be going before the Secretary of Interior as a draft. And so, the draft that's going forward to the Department of Interior is a living, working document. Now, if the Secretary of Interior does approve this, well, then that's when the work starts. This is just the skeleton. Right now, a lot of the promulgating of the law, the rules, and the regs will be established by legislative resolution through the committee, the infrastructure committee, and the department, the water department. And when that comes to the floor and ready for a final vote, whether it's a special session or a quarterly session, we will bring that to the floor upon final approval for various things. The reason why we pushed that forward was because we all know that as time would allow, things change, and sometimes things just doesn't work in different ways. There's different situations, and whether it's permitting, whether it's for the allottees, whether it's for the office, then we will have to make those adjustments through legislative resolution by amendment. And it wouldn't be fitting for us to basically put everything in stone in a document that's going to have to be approved through the DOI, which does have an amendment process, but it takes time. Through this fashion, we have developed a process where if we have to come back to the table, we would have immediate action. So in that way, we would be able to address the needs of the constituency, the districts, and the tribe. Most importantly, the allottees. And so as a landowner, speaking as a landowner, looking at this as a landowner, promulgating law as a landowner, I felt comfortable with this, that everything's going to be coming to this floor for final approval with the allottees' input. Also, the language of establishing a budget for this department, whether it's $1 or whether it's 100 million. This $460 million document, all that is going to be established through Senator Bozadet's committee, the Finance Committee, the chairman of that committee, and we will be, according to this document, the director will be establishing a budget according to tribal law as it is already. The executive will present it to this branch, to the appropriate committee, through our secretary of the House, to the appropriate committee at distribution of the bills every year, and that will go to the finance committee. So through all of that, we would be able to allow for the process of establishing a budget so that way needs will be met and things will be established. I'm a proponent for this. I feel comfortable. I'm ready to move forward on this. And I'd like to establish this as something that we can push on, put into the law and order code, and again, to the rules and regulations through 25-2-105 in the code itself. It reads that it will come back to this floor for final approval. So then that way the constituencies will be able to, their needs will be met, and we're not even done with this because there's still got to be a lot of work to be done. But in this fashion, it puts you, it puts the tribe, it puts the legislative branch, the people's branch of government in the driver's seat, so then that way we'll be able to meet those needs, and if things need to be adjusted or critiqued, then we can meet those needs as well. So as a proponent for this, I request everyone's full support. And I'm sure there's going to be more discussion on this, and I welcome it. Healthy discussion is always good. Involvement is always good. So with that, Mr. Speaker, Secretary.
I want to point of order. We need to adopt the agenda, and then I want to move the journal back to the end of the agenda. So I make that a motion to adopt this. So the motion gave me one.
Okay, it's motion made by Gordon Gilbert to adopt the agenda and move the journals to the end of the order of business. Second by Carlson Lozette. All in favor, raise your right hands. All opposed? All abstained? 14-0-0. CJ, did you have anyone else speaking on behalf of the proponents?
I believe the vice chairman's here, as well as the director of the water, the cabinet head. We have the attorney for the water department, as well as Mr. Dale Labrador that has been involved. So I believe it's up to the vice chairman how he wants to line them up here.
We'll recognize the Vice Chairman Dale Wilson.
Point of order. At this time, I think I've reserved my comments until we have legal and Clay get up, yell, they can come up and talk about this a little bit, Titus. So I reserve my comments until they're done.
We'll recognize Dale Labrador.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to see everyone here. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Secretary, members of the body. We'll start it in the morning, but now it's realized it's the afternoon, so good day, good morning, good evening. In any event, I'd like to maybe members of the body and certainly the allotee myself, certainly want to make sure that any of the code provisions protect the allottees and also put the tribe in a position of strength to control the water. That's really what the code is about. And if I just back up for a minute, the Crow people voted for the Crow Water Rights Settlement Act, 72% approved. And that was back in 2011, after the legislation passed Congress in December of 2010. It's a $460 million water settlement. I'm sure the Water Office can tell you some of the benefits that are happening. It's starting to pick up steam through Bureau of Reclamation's oversight on the construction of the irrigation project. I think the budget this year is 10 million, a little over 10 million, combined with the design of a new municipal rural industrial system all along the Bighorn River, which is going to have delivery points to each of the towns on the reservation. And then there was lengthy discussion last December when the code was introduced. I think the legislative body, working with executives, said, hold on a second, let's hit the pause button. We've got some overlying concerns, especially with the newly elected. They said, well, how's this going to benefit the towns that I'm from? Viola, Lodgegrass, Pryor. And we stopped, we got the engineering firm to look at it, and they said, why don't we try to use the water settlement in order to upgrade those systems so that when you pipe the water from the Bighorn, that it gets to the people and it's going to get to their homes, it's going to get for economic development and the like. So that's kind of the overarching view of what this is. And at the same time, this water code would provide for regulation of both of those systems by the tribe itself. When the 1999 Water Compact was approved by then the Nomi administration and then the state of Montana, when they signed off, at that point in time, they said, let's shut all the basins down within the Crow Reservation. We're going to adjudicate the claims and see who has water rights or not as of 1999. And then we're going to come up with that list, which may come up today, the current use list. And after that point, it's going to go to federal legislation to codify all of this in Congress and appropriate the money. There's some $210 million at First Interstate Bank right now, which was mandatory funding by Congress to create the new system and to upgrade the irrigation system to the 21st century. This water code is one part of that overall settlement. There's something called a set of conditions of enforceability that's in the federal statute, the Crow Water Rights Settlement Act. And there's 7 conditions in order for the settlement to become final and then for Crow to take over a variety of aspects of that settlement. One of the 7 is the water code. Another one are the water court approval process. Those are the 2 remaining things left to finalize the settlement in order to get all of the benefits of the $460 million that Congress had approved back in December of 2010. This water code, there's only roughly around the United States, about 29 tribes have had Congress approve of their water rights settlement. We happened to join in that in December of 2010 with some New Mexico tribes. So there aren't, out of 566 tribes, there aren't that many that actually have gotten to the point where we're at. And there's one tribe in specific down in Arizona, Gila River, who had theirs in 2005, that is now 7 to 8 years in implementing. And the reason I want to give this big picture context is that the code is an important part of that, but it's just a part of it. They have some $40 million a year in construction. The Water Rights Settlement Act, with these last 2 conditions being finalized probably in the next half a year or so, at that point, then the larger construction begins. More money starts to flow in, and the original $210 million will jumpstart a construction economy at Crow. As you can imagine, that's lots and lots of jobs, good-paying jobs, and ultimately a better irrigation system that's modernized, that the tribe may or may not decide to run, and then also a new municipal system that delivers good, clean water throughout the reservation for all of your families, all of our families, and the homes. This code would take over any new permits or uses or transfer of rights and regulate them. It would put the Crow Nation charge of the water that flows through the reservation. That's a very important step, one that has people here today, one that has had a number of allottees involved along the way. And I think in the end, strengthens the Crow tribe, strengthens our sovereignty, and puts us in a better position to stop outsiders from using our water for their benefit. We'd rather Crow control the water for all of our benefit, for the 14,000 that are around the corner. We've got to position the tribe to be the one to regulate, and not the state or the counties. It's got to be the Crow tribe. You elect your leaders, they make decisions, and this is one of them. But I do want to call your attention to the code. I'm sure we'll get into some discussion about it, but just to try to be as brief as possible, because I think this is one of the most important provisions. The very first part of the code consistently cites our three treaties: the 1825 Friendship Treaty, the 1851 Fort Laramie Treaty, and the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty that was specific to Crow. That is the backbone of this code. Because we have treaties is the reason this code can go in to empower Crow to control the water use. Under section 25-4-111, and I'm just going to read a few sentences because I think it's important and relevant today. Allocation of water to allottees. The tribal allocations of water to allottees shall be satisfied with water from the tribal water right. Paragraph 1. Allottee shall be entitled as a matter of law to a just and equitable allocation of the tribal water right for irrigation purposes. The second sentence talks about charges, and that gets into a subsidy fund, and I don't want to bog this down into too much detail because I want to stay big picture. Paragraph 3, allottee may request the Crow tribe provide water for new irrigation use under chapters 4 and 5 of this code. And then one of the most important provisions under paragraph 5, following exhaustion of remedies available under the water code and other applicable tribal law, an allottee may seek relief under section 7 of the Act of February 8, 1887, codified at 25 U.S.C. 381 or other applicable law. It does sound legalese. If you were to boil it down, what does that mean? The allottee's water right is protected, and that the Department of Interior continues to have a trust responsibility for the allottees. And that if they're not satisfied with the Crow process, they can always go to the federal process to protect their right. That, to me, is a very important provision to satisfy allottees that there's nothing happening to the rights that are protected, and they get a just and equitable portion of the tribal water right. So with that, the water code goes on to talk about, it defines the various groups, it talks about the treaties, it talks about new uses, and it talks about a variety of other things like a commission to appeal from the director when there's a permit decision, a lot of procedural things built in for due process rights. And where do you go if you have a claim or if you feel like you need relief? And the code spells out a lot of it. So I just wanted to give context to all of this and to say that the water code here today is not a final product. It's a product that had a lot of efforts, eyes, this body, executive, legal on both sides, a lot of input along the way in the committee process, and the code itself is intended to effectuate a tribal water right, but with safeguards built into it. I mentioned one about the federal cause of action. The other is what Senator Stewart just said. This is a skeleton of how regulation may occur on the reservation. Most of the details are going to have to go into rules and regulations. And I think Senator Stewart cited that provision, and it basically says the department can put draft rules in. They've got to go to this body and open it up to the public, and then they're going to decide whether to support or not support or amend any of the specific details that will be implementing this water code. cost? How do the leases work? Is there any preference for that? A variety of things that would take many more years to develop in a code itself. And so the idea was to put the basic framework together and then have it set for the future. Now this code, if it were to be passed today, would go to the Department of Interior under a cover letter. They would review it and come back. So there would be time for allottees and other amendments to be discussed before this is final before the body. Because I'm sure there'll be edits and amendments. They'll come back to the body, and then they'll have to decide whether they accept or reject it. So this is one important step. It's a code that's important for trying to make the Water Settlement Act into reality, as there's the build out from the water department. And I think that it's going to be a work in progress. This is not final, it's not in stone, and I think that it provides a good framework to work from, and there's going to be a lot more work to do. But this is a very important and critical step to move forward. So with that, Mr. Speaker. I'm sure this will come up later as well, but Gary Warren, who used to work in the solicitor's office, mentioned the time frame for approval of the code. The previous administration signed some documents with Secretary of Interior to bring up the end of April of this year to have the code submitted for review by the Department of Interior. The Department of Interior typically takes several months at a minimum in order to review the code. It is referred to here at the local level, whether it's the superintendent or regional director, and then it goes up to the central office in Washington, D.C. for review by a group of solicitors who look at water codes throughout Indian country. And then after they comment, it comes back for review and discussion, and then you involve the local regional office, the superintendent's office, and then there's a decision by Crow on again, all these edits. So we're talking, at least 3 to 4 months out before probably this code is returned back to this body to review all the potential edits that are going to be there. So there's still a lot of time left on working on the code. And again, the rules and regulations are going to have more of the details in the future. So with that, Mr. Speaker, I'll stop at my time so that others from the Water Resource Department can talk, and the Vice Chairman.
Thank you, Bill.
I think all pretty much covers it.
This is the other proposals at this time, that Florida it was.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, members of the body, fellow road travel members. Like Dale stated, there's been a lot of work that's come to this since water contract was passed. Same thing, there was a sunset, and I think we have to have something in the interior, but, we're not, this is a work in progress, like CJ said, this is a living, breathing document, to be amended at any time. But, a little history lesson on how, we came to this. I think, it started with the Winters Doctrine, and we kind of progressed, and there's been a couple of landmark cases that happened here on this reservation, United States versus Smallers. It happened over there in Iowa. Talked about when non-Indian purchased land from a lottee. The non-Indian wanted the same water right, and that went to court. And then you go forward to the Karen Amendment. That was in the 50s sometime, and that's why we're basically here today. basically, McCarron was a senator from, Nevada, I think. And, you know, anytime there was a water issue or anything that happened, it had to be decided in Washington DC. So, the reason behind this McCarran amendment was that, you know, the people in DC had no idea of the geographical features, the bodies of water, the lay of the land, you know, the way the rivers were or anything, so they'd be making kind of a blind decision. So, you know, Mr. McCarran, proposed an amendment that will let the states handle it, because, the states know the geographical, regions there, they know the water tributaries, they know all this information about that, so they'd be able to make a better decision on these water cases. So that's kind of what brings us here today. That was an act of Congress that happened back in the 50s, and there's no way we could change it. You know, we do, you know, have treaties, and, you know, this code, you know, we're basically asserting our rights as a sovereign nation, as a people that are going to take control of our water. And, you know, by no means, you know, this is, you know, something that we need, something that we have needed for a long time. And I think that, you know, we're taking steps to make sure that, you know, future generations, those child numbers are going to have adequate water for their own personal use, livestock, agriculture, business, industrial, all that's, you know, going to be covered in here. So, I'd like to turn it back over to the Speaker of the House. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. About 5 minutes left. If anybody wants to speak on behalf of the proponents. Okay, at this time, we'll proceed on to the next stage of the process here. This time, I asked the Infrastructure Committee Chair, Conrad Stewart, for his committee recommendation.
Oh, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Secretary, Vice Chairman, Mr. Chairman, and guests, legal counsel. We gotta excuse our Sergeant at Arms, he's got, an Indian hangover. So, we don't have no batteries for our lights here. Well, we had several meetings here, and like I said earlier, I applaud everybody that stuck it through all the way through, and I know it gets kind of tedious, and we have to go through a lot of information. It's easier to be a little bit more naysaying than to be here and be proactive, because when you're here, a lot of the good things that you bring out, it goes into this document. And I gotta applaud one person that stuck it all the way through was Mr. Pat Hill. He stuck it out all the way through to the end. And, again, like I stated earlier, a lot of the meat and sinew of this, document is gonna be established through the promulgating between the department, the water department, and the legislative branch. And a lot of the issues concerning the allottees is there that are gonna be, recognized, and I know we're gonna speak to that issue here soon. But Mr. Speaker, at this time, at 9:45, I called meeting to order. It was April 23rd, 2014, Wednesday. Invocation by Speaker Okro. 7 members at that time were present. The agenda was, top topic was water code. And there was a motion on the floor for approval of the Pro Water Code. Motion by Senator Hugs, seconded by Senator Rogers, question by Senator Three Irons. And the motion was approved. 6 yes, 0 no, 1 abstain. The 1 abstain actually was Pat Alden came in late and wasn't able to vote, and he didn't actually know where we were at on it. But at that time, there was 14 members, 14 people present at the meeting. And like I stated, I applaud the public, the committee, and the executive for the hard work that everyone has done. And so, Mr. Speaker, at this time, and as the Chairman of Infrastructure, we do have a recommendation for approval from the committee. Oh,
Thank you. Floor is, also goes in.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Secretary, members of the body, as well as the chairman, vice chairman, and guests from the general council membership. At this time, on Rule 20, I'm going to make a motion on Section B. The referral motion shall specify whether the public hearing is to be conducted by the full legislature. And my see the document that is before us, I just received that, and while due respect to the infrastructure chair, I want to have a referral to the public hearing to my district, and bring it back on the floor, because I have a responsibility to my constituents, all the prior, as well as to the respective districts that are present here. And we need to share this document, and then bring it at a special session or a quarterly session, whatever it falls into, Mr. Speaker. That is my motion to defer it back to public hearings on this particular. See, a lot of us don't have that, it's just given to me. And so that is one of my main reasons, but that's my motion to refer it back to public hearings.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Second by Rick Denomey. All in favor, raise your right hands. All opposed? All abstained? 12-1. Motion carried. Okay, at this time, moving on to the next item on the agenda. Other business, are there any other businesses?
Mr. Speaker.
But, Susan,
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would also ask for your direction to the office, the secretaries, or not the secretaries, but the office managers, that they would schedule some meetings. Not that I was going to make them posters so that I can schedule a meeting probably here within the week or next week for Harold. And I would encourage all the other districts to do that, to have these public hearings as well too.
okay, each of the districts will be given a directed by the districts to coordinate with myself, Mr. Wilbur here with the staff. We'll be scheduled for it, Ms. Connersburg.
Mr. Speaker, I have a problem with going to the districts on this. In fact, just for the public's understanding, these were public meetings that have been posted, and I strongly encourage the public to understand that you have district representatives that are supposed to be here. Now, it's not my place to tell them to be here because they're men. They were voted here for your benefit, so in that way you can be here as well. They can speak on your behalf. At this time, that's fine. It's okay to go to the districts, that's all right, but I do stand behind this document, We did come up with a document that's gonna be seat-fitting, and I do understand it's gonna still come to the legislative committee. And so we're gonna have to make those adjustments. And if, I have forwarded these documents to proper leadership. And so, for the record, to the public, your district members need to be here. They do. And it's a miscarriage of justice when they're not here on your behalf. And then now, we're being called to go to the district, which is fine. That's fine. I encourage that. More involvement is always good. But for the record, you need to understand that your district members, you're the ones you voted for, have to be here. They have to be here. Please, as you lobby, don't lobby to somebody that's never here. Because it's a miscarriage of justice to you. Sure, this is tedious. Sure, there's a lot of information that has to be understood. But you elected us to be in here to understand for you and speak for the ones that can't speak, stand up for the ones that can't stand up. When I'm here day in, day out, and I call a meeting at 9 o'clock, and we're here promulgating law for your benefit, as you lobby for your issues, which is your right, and every time any of the public come in here and bring out the issues, we gladly accepted everything because, again, the involvement is awesome, it's great, and it helps. But as you lobby to these members, please lobby to people that are going to be here. Please lobby to the representatives that would like to be here on your behalf. I'm the chairman of this committee, and so, of course, I have to oversee this issue. Whether I like it or whether I don't like it, but I believe we've come up with a document that I'm comfortable with, that I believe is going to come back here for final approval upon all rules and all regs. You will even have say concerning the amount of money that's going to be spent in certain areas for the budget. That's what I was elected for, is to be here even through the good ones and the low ones, controversial or non-controversial. I'm still here. But as you lobby, make sure you lobby to people that are going to be here on your behalf. Going to the districts, that's fine. I agree with that. Senator Goldsted makes a good point. And we're going to continue as a living, breathing document to go to the districts. Anybody can be a monkey wrench. There's two parts to a solution. Either you're part of the problem or part of the solution. But again, please lobby to the ones that are here. It doesn't make no sense for you to lobby to people that aren't even going to be here on your behalf. It's a miscarriage of justice on your behalf. I understand your needs, your wants, I encourage that. You know, when you come in and we speak to those issues, a lot of you, again, lobby to your representatives, because a lot of times you don't even understand, they're never here for this. If you're going to lobby to them, lobby to the ones that are here. I'm not afraid to say that, because you elected us to be here. This is not personal, this is business. So don't find me trying to be personal. I'm just letting the public know that you need to understand your rights. Every meeting that we call, they're open. Every meeting that we have, I encourage input. Every meeting that we have, the door is always open and input is always taken. I hope, Mr. Speaker, I hope to the public.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Secretary, members of the body, and branch officers. TJ makes a lot of good points, but we still have a duty to our respective districts. This document was just handed out to me just a while ago. Mr. Speaker, I want to make that clearly. I want to take it to the Arrow Creek District, and probably off reservation, because some of the off reservation needs to hear this. At least, that's part of our duties. We have to go to them, and I know that, Infrastructure Chair, Senator Stewart, has been having his meetings, but, prior is about 75 miles away, but today we see constituents that were here earlier, but they left. So that's all my duty. I want to exhaust the remedy according to our rules, letting them know, but everything that he explained right now, they don't know. They don't know it right now. But I want them to let them know this is your right. It's their right to know what the procedures are. Attorney Dale Labrador, spoke about that. 25 I need to explain some of these to them. This is your right. And I know earlier, some of them, they feel uncomfortable coming here. I was conveyed to them and asked the reason why. So we have to have them be more welcome to the public. And I've asked different ones to just come and ask questions, and if they will, answer the questions. But like I said, I have a duty that I have to uphold to my constituents, and that's my right for them to know that this is very important. The water code is very, very important. So I believe we still have time. I know that the deadline has already passed for this. So, but we'll bring it back to the floor. And then we got some new senators here that they don't even know anything about it. But they want to know more about it. But we can, but they need to know. And I'm just speaking my own personal opinion, Mr. Speaker. So there's a rule here that says in subsection D of the Rule 20, section D, it says the Speaker or committee chairperson shall schedule a public hearing with at least 10 working days, which is 2 weeks, advance notice provided to the public. Notice shall be provided by publication in the local newspaper and postings at the tribal administration offices. The notices shall set the time, date, and location of the public hearing, provide a brief summary of the proposal, the location where interested members of the public may get the copies of the proposal and a statement that written testimony may be offered and must be submitted to the registrar office by a stated time and date. And we got to make copies and take this out to our constituents as well too, and explain that to them. So when I do that, then myself, I will feel real comfortable and moving forward. So that is my opinion, and according to our rules, but I would like to waive the 10-day rule as a motion, though, Mr. Speaker, on subsection B.
Okay, motion on the floor.
B.
Rule,
Rule 20,
Rule 20,
I motion to, in section D, to suspend the 10 working days.
suspend the 10 working days for
Yes.
the committee meetings.
Yes, for the 10 working days advance notice.
That's notice.
Yeah. That's in form of motions.
Okay, how many days are you wanting to apply to that schedule?
Well, as soon as possible, really.
Okay, got a motion on the floor, need a second. Second by Victor Noe, all in favor, raise your right hands. 13. Abstain? Motion carried, 13-0-0. Okay. I'll proceed on to the next order of business, other business. At this time, there are any other businesses? If not, floor motion, recognize Congress Stewart.
Oh, Mr. Speaker, I think, we have quite a bit of public here that might want to say something. It'd be interesting to understand to whoever there want to speak to. I think they're here for the issue of water code, that's what is on topic. With all due respect, I think that's what we're here for.
I think those would be reserved for the district hearings at this time. That's why do you want the district hearings?
Okay? Because I would be willing to give up my time
Yeah.
according to the rules.
We're already on to the next order of business now. That was already sent to the district hearings. And at this time, we're going on to the next order of business. Next order of business would be maybe review and adoption of the agenda. Motion to review and adopt the agenda.
Making that motion.
Motion by Council Rosehead, be seconded by Paul Hill. All in favor, raise your right hands. All opposed? All abstained? Motion carried, 14-0-0, 13-0-0. Okay, the next order of business, is there any other LRs or other businesses?
Mr. Speaker,
Or, Brandon Dula?
after we go through the agenda, in the end here, I'd like the senators to go into executive session.
Motion on the floor, to go into executive session. Need a second? Second by Tyson Gilmore.
Question?
Commissioner Coolidge.
Can we define the executive session? Is that with the executive officials as well?
May you,
Senators.
Just senators? No legal?
Senators and legal counsel affairs.
okay, got a motion on the floor, got a second by Tyson Gilmore. All in favor, raise your right hands. All opposed? All abstained? Motion carried, 13-0-0. Okay, we'll be in executive session, the public will please excuse us.